there was a time last year, just before I moved back home, where I was in such a bad emotional state that I remembered that the life cover I have covers suicide.
Sure.
And I felt like my children financially will be better off without me because I've got a life cover. And if I die, they're gonna get money, they're gonna be able to go to good schools, and they're gonna survive, you know. And I called the institution I'm with, and I said, please read the terms and conditions with me again. And they read it, and I said, you cover suicide, right? And they said, yes ma'am, we cover suicide. It was the first time I've heard that a life cover covers suicide. And I contemplated taking my life because I felt as if financially I'm not going to be able to take care of these kids. I'm not good enough for these kids, and I'm not going to be able to do it. So let me just end my life so that they can have a better life. Hi guys, welcome to my channel, and thank you so much for being here. Today's a bit different. As you can see, I'm not alone. I haven't done a lot of sit-down videos this year, and this is one of, I think, probably my second or third one. And I thought I would speak about or bring someone who is experienced in something that I've been struggling with, and I think you have too. My friend over here, Andiswa, she is what I would like to call a financial guru, but she does not say that that's what she is, but I think she's just being humble. But this is Andiswa Mojapelo.
Hi guys, thank you for having me on your channel. Really excited to be here. And yes, I don't refer to myself as a financial guru, but I'll take it. But I'm someone who's just super obsessed about personal finance and financial planning, both because of previous experience and also because of the current industry that I am, which happens to be my dream job as well. I love talking about money, guys, and I love discussing money, its challenges, the advantages, the growth opportunities, and we'll get into that. But I'm money obsessed, and I think it's just because I've realized what being money savvy and being financially savvy can actually do for one's finances and what they want to achieve.
Andiswa says she's money obsessed. I think we all are, but different versions and different definitions. I'm also money obsessed, but not in the way that she is. But yeah, so I think, as mentioned earlier, I've been struggling with money. I think a lot of us do, especially as parents and especially as single parents. So I thought that I came across Andiswa's channel a couple of months ago when we have a mutual friend, and she basically that day she decided she was going to post all of her friends' YouTube channels. And I subscribed to everyone's YouTube channel because I was just subscribing to subscribe. But then hers caught my eye because when she speaks about money, she speaks about money in layman's terms. Like, she speaks to you like you're a 5-year-old, but not in a patronizing way. So I liked that, and it drew me to her channel. And I literally don't skip any videos. There's like one video she did about preparing for like marriage or whatever. I was just like, that's not me. That's not me. It's never gonna be me because I've got no desire to get married. But I watched anyway. Like, I literally learned so much from watching her. I will definitely link her channel below. And wherever you are in your life financially, you will definitely be able to relate to her content. So I'll link it below, and please do subscribe to her channel. It's very nice. It's very authentic. If you like my channel, you definitely like hers. She's very authentic, and she understands the struggles that an average South African goes through. So she won't talk down on you, but she'll speak with you. But now specifically, I asked Andiswa if you can do this because I am struggling with my money, and as a parent, well, I guess even as myself, but like as a parent, I struggle a lot with my money, and there's so many components that comes into place. One being that what I would like to ask to tackle first, and I think a lot of single parents will understand this, is that as single parents, we overcompensate. We're financially, emotionally, we just overdo things because you feel like, because the other parent is not involved, I need to do this. In my situation with my eldest child, because I didn't live with her for so long, I didn't only overcompensate because of the fact that I'm a single mom. I also overcompensated because I was a long distance mom. And if you're in that situation also, I'm sure you understand where I'm coming from. And now that I have my child with me, the overcompensation that I've been doing for the past 12 years is coming to life. I'm seeing it every day. I'm living with it every day. And I'm just like, wow, the monster I created.
The product.
The product of my overcompensation is, and now she's very entitled and now she's very spoiled. And I'm just like, okay, maybe let's talk about this before. I'm already in that situation, so I don't know if I can still be helped. Before you find yourself in that situation where you are overcompensating because you're a single mom, I wanted us to unpack why we overcompensate as single parents, how we overcompensate, and what are the pros and cons of overcompensating financially when it comes to your finances, when it comes to your child. If there are any pros, actually, are there any pros to overcompensating?
I think overcompensating is a reality for parents in general, all parents. Regardless of whether it's parents in the context of marriage or parents in the context of being single. But I must say that I have seen that overcompensating for single parents, particularly single mothers, is a big thing, and it's a big reality. And for obvious reasons, especially you would understand if you are in that position that you're like, you know what, you don't get to have a dad, and you don't get to have someone attend your soccer matches or attend your training or see you through that. So I then want to fill the gap with something, anything, and obviously things need money, yes, right? Because activities, going out, luxury items, and things need money. So it's definitely a reality, specifically for single parents. And I think that the most important thing that we need to factor in is, number one, why are you overcompensating? Understand the reason. And I love the fact that you are doing this, but you understand very well why you are doing this. And it's a very important place to start. And then after that, I think it's also important to say, okay, cool, I am overcompensating because of this reason, but what am I overcompensating on, right? Is it clothes? Is it luxuries? Is it things that I can't afford? And if that is the reason, if you're going into extremes because of trying to fill that gap, then it's obviously things that don't necessarily need to be there. And that's where your budget is being strained. So number one is, in order to conquer that wanting to overcompensate, be realistic. I always say that there's you and there's your money. You are not your money is not you, but both of these factors need to work together in order to achieve their goals. And what I mean by there's your money, there's you, is that you need to remove the emotion out of the way that you handle money. Don't handle it with emotion, because if you handle money with your heart, obviously you want to give your child everything. Who doesn't, right? And you want your child not to feel gaps. You want your child not to feel like they are not like other kids. Yeah. And that's your heart speaking. But your budget, and those it's otherwise, and you won't see that unless you remove you and you put your budget on the other side, and you sort of like look as if you're reflecting and say, well, this is what I want to do for my child. But realistically speaking, my circumstances and affordability don't allow me that. So I definitely say, in order to conquer overcompensating, think about that, number one. And secondly, though, I think in wanting the best for children, it is a great thing, but understanding what are those best things. One of the things that I think personally is very important and is a huge investment when you do want something for your kids is education. Yeah. Guys, I come from a previously disadvantaged background, to a point where sometimes when I speak at places and I'm invited to speak, people are like, did you really, when I unpack, my background? And you won't see that now in the things that I've achieved. But I've come from far, and I attest us breaking generational curses at home to education. There was nothing, literally nothing, as in no buildings, no home, no sofas, no nothing. Going back to my grandmother, and the one thing my grandmother had was prioritizing education, and that fed off to her kids, and that fed off, and it took that one person getting out to sort of like help everybody else. So if you are gonna go extreme on anything, please don't let it be takeaways and luxuries and like sportswear and all of those things. Let it be education, because I feel like that is a key, and that to me is an investment. The second thing that I can say as well is, children won't understand the value of money if you don't show them how money is being used.
Okay, there's another, for me, I've heard that before, ne? And I'm always just like, there's such a thin line then. I don't want her to be exposed of the problems that I encounter when I show her how money is being used. But on the same breath, I want her to know how money in this house is being used. But now there's such a thin line. So where do we draw the line when it comes to, listen, this is our reality. But on the same time, I need to protect you from, you don't need to know how poor we are or what we can afford or what we can't afford.
I think that is true. I don't think you don't want to obviously burden them with knowing what it is, but I think you can start with the little things. For example, growing up, and I think I'm saying this because it actually, I've been passionate about money and finances from a very young age, a very, very young age. And one of the things that I really think helped me when I was younger is getting that small allowance. It wasn't a lot. I think it was like 5 rand a week or something like that. Okay. But that discipline of not giving your daughter or your son money every day, but giving them money on a weekly basis and letting them manage it. You'll see how quickly they realize, or telling them that, you know what, I've got 500 rand this month. Do you want to do your hair, or would you like new jeans? Or would you like new shoes? Have a money conversation, not to the level of adulting where you're telling them their fees and all of those things, but just that, she would need to understand trade-offs. I can either have this or I can have that. There's decisions to be made. Or, I've got this much for the week and this is how much I need to spend. Am I buying something I really like on Monday and then not eating anything for the rest of the week? Or am I splitting it 1 rand a day? So for me, now that I look back, those decisions of I need to keep money for the whole week. If I spend it on one day, I'm not going to have the next day. I feel like those lessons are things that you can actually start incorporating in your child's life at a very young age. So it doesn't have to be a complicated, this is the rent money, this is the school. This is your tuck money. Give it to them for a month. See what happens in the first month. You'd be surprised at the lessons that come with that as an adult. That I've got money, I get paid. You know how difficult it was for us, right? When we first got a job, you think you have all this money, and then a week later you're like,
where is it?
Because mommy always gave you when you needed. You never had to manage your own finances. You never had to plan around what is it that I'm going to have. So teach them to sacrifice and trade off. Teach them to manage money. Those little lessons, put money on the table depending on how old your child is and tell them that this is for bread. If you spend it on something else, you don't have bread. I feel like those lessons are small lessons that may seem insignificant, but in the bigger scheme of things, I always say that money is a discipline. Just like you learn karate or you learn singing and you have to train your vocal cords, money is the same thing. If you start training when you start working, it's going to be a problem. So if you can introduce those lessons with your children, like little by little, they'll get that discipline. They'll even start understanding and be like, actually, mommy, you don't have to do that. Because now she gets it, right? She gets what trade-offs mean and what she needs to sacrifice. So I definitely say put in those lessons as soon as possible and allow them to train that muscle and become more disciplined earlier on.
You just said something now that I struggle with so many things. But two of the things that you said, let's unpack. You just said something now where you put things on the table, and then maybe one day she'll be like, oh mommy, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do this. I found that as much as my eldest daughter is obviously, I feel like she's a bit spoiled, it hits my heart when she wants something and she said, but it's okay mom, it's expensive, so you don't have to get it for me. And I'm just like, you're a child, you're not supposed to be thinking about my finances and my financial situation. Like sometimes she'll be like, oh, I feel like McDonald's, like she feels like she wants to eat McDonald's, but she's like, mom, but I know Guti, it's like 2 days before payday, you don't have the money, so you don't have to get it. I don't know if maybe it's a guilt trip on her part, or maybe she actually genuinely means it, but I struggle with now being in a position where you're a child, you're not supposed to be thinking about that. And maybe because I come from that, like I grew up very poor, and at home I had to think, Guti, I can't ask for 2 rand for CVs when 2 rand at that time bought us a packet of tomatoes. So I always had to be like, I'm not going to ask my mom for that, so I'll rather just not even tell her that there's CVs at school. I'm just going to go to school with my uniform. And in hindsight, that was horrible for me. So now I'm seeing my daughter, as much as obviously for her she wants McDonald's, and she's thinking, oh, but mom, you can't afford McDonald's. So it's things like that now I'm struggling with how do I build now a healthy conversation and relationship where it's I can't afford this today because I don't have the money, but on the same breath, as a 13-year-old, you shouldn't be thinking about what the finances of the house anyway. That's my responsibility.
I think, man, like always thinking about what is on the other side of me not doing that, I think is very important, because the thing is, we can continue with life as if things are not a problem or as if there isn't any challenges, but doing that ultimately means that it's going to affect us in the long term, which affects her or any other child even more. And I think it's important to understand that when you sort of like force things or try to hide things now, the longer term effect of that happening is you having to sacrifice something much bigger because you couldn't in the beginning sacrifice the small things. So I think rather be transparent and honest in the beginning. And also the overcompensating thing, I think it's an emotional thing, right? Because you're like, I don't want you to do this and I don't want you to do that. But you know, I always say that when it comes to money, try and have the money and you like try to separate it, because when you bring too many emotions into money, you start managing money emotionally, and that is a problem. That is a problem because you're not calculating. So yes, as a mommy, I absolutely adore you and I love you and I want to give you the world, but my circumstances don't allow me to do that. And rather than me forcing myself to do that from a budget perspective, this is the reality of the money. This is me. I love you to bits and I want to give you the world, but my budget doesn't allow me. Once you mix the two, you're going to start pushing yourself to do things you can't afford, and that can only be to the detriment of your child's future in the long term, because then you'll start sacrificing. That being said, right, I don't want people to say, oh, Andiswa doesn't want me to spoil my child.
Yes,
She's just like, you know what, if you're going to do anything in extreme, it's the education for me. You know, there I feel like that is where you need to push, because like I said, I come from a family of 4. I had a single mother. My mom prioritized education above, she wasn't educated, but she made sure, you know, she sacrificed other things from a financial perspective that she couldn't afford, but she made sure when it came to the schools that we went to. And that is like, it's an investment in my view.
That's true.
So I feel like as a mommy, if you feel like the budget is not working out, sacrifice the other things, put the McDonald's down, sacrifice but that education. And guys, you know, I'm beginning to learn even more when I engage with different people that it's not just about the school, it's the networks.
Of course.
It's the conversations.
Of course. Oh my God.
It's the skills. It's the environment. It's all these things that our parents were not privy to that comes with education. So I see education as an investment. So if a parent comes to me, they're like, I'm broke, but I'm taking everything I have and I'm putting it there. That for me is the ultimate. It worked for my family. Like, it took us from extreme poverty. But once that first uncle got out and he became a lawyer,
opened doors.
That first uncle who got out and became a principal came back, and everybody, and then from there, honestly,
on the rise. How do you prepare for this amazing investment?
So there's a book that I once read, and it was a financial book, and the guy said that, how do you know if you can truly afford something? And he said that take that amount and double it. That's when you know that you can truly afford it. And it sounded crazy, and he was speaking in reference to a car, right?
Okay.
He was like, how do you know you can afford a car? Take the installment and double it, because there's going to be maintenance, there's going to be the tire breaking down, there's going to be a service plan, there's going to be insurance, there's going to be all of those things. And I think we need to start looking at things like fees in the same sense. The worst thing you can ever do for yourself is with things like fees or even cars and even buying a property is budgeting to the T, right? To the last rand. That means you throttling your budget, basically. Always give your budget a buffer. These things are important, but always give your budget a budget. So that's the first thing I would say. Maybe he was being a bit extreme by saying double it, because I mean,
why would I need 2 cars?
Like, you know, why would you need 2?
I can see why I would need 2 cars.
So like maybe it was a bit extreme, but honestly, what he was saying is that if you're earning 10,000 rand and your expenses are exactly 10,000 rand, you're living above your means. That's what he was saying.
Okay.
Because what that means is that if something slightly changes, like your landlord increases the rent, or your car for some reason you've got a variable interest rate and your premium, your car premium increases, you immediately out of budget. So we should never budget to the T is what he meant. So your car could increase this month, and so will your rent, and then Alwande has something to school and all of these other things. So never, ever, ever, when you make any decision, try to budget to the T. But then you budget to the T and then you find yourself where you are. Trade-offs. That's the only way to maneuver around a budget. What are you willing to trade off, right? Because there's two ways in order to, so we sometimes like overcomplicate this wealth thing or overcomplicate this having money thing. There's two ways in which to build wealth. It's either to make way more money or spend way less money. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah.
Make way more or spend less more. That's the only way you're actually going to have money. So if you're in that situation where you feel like, you know what, and it does happen because you can never know exactly how much things are going to cost. But if you find yourself in that type of situation, go to that budget and do what is called a bank statement or a budget exercise. Look at those line items and say, well, I'm here now. You know, I thought fees were only going to be this much, but seemingly they're not. They're more expensive. So what am I willing to trade off for that? Because I've already made that decision. And you're breathing because, you know, feel like you're the queen of trade-offs, but you're breathing heavily because like, not me having to give up something.
Yeah.
You know, I've given up everything. But like I said in the beginning, if you're gonna prioritize anything and give it importance, definitely let it be education. And just look at your budget and say, I'm here now, what am I willing to sacrifice? Maybe I thought I could afford X, Y, and Z, but I can't anymore because I want to value this. So definitely do that. Don't budget to the T because it strains your budget. Always give your budget a buffer. Whether you're buying a car, you're sending your child to school, rent, always just have that. It might increase by 1,000, it might increase by 800. Don't put it to that point. But if you find yourself there, look at your budget and trade off. There has to be something that's a little less important than what you want to pay. And also I'm not on Twitter, but I did see that Twitter handle, and I think my comment there just in general is I find it very difficult when you put in a position where you are asking a parent to take care of their child, but it comes across as if you are asking for something.
Unless you're asking for a favor.
I don't understand that, because whether you are fighting in maintenance court or whether you are doing it for the child, that was made with that individual. So I don't like it when it comes across as if you are asking something or you are failing or it's not you, it's two people that are involved in this. So I think even for you, like when you're stressing about it or you're worrying about it, it's not you that is asking, it's technically your child. It's just that you are asking on their behalf, and that's a big difference. It's not about you and what you can afford and what you can't afford and where you fall short. It's about the responsibility that that person needs to take financially for that individual. So it's not you going to there, it's actually the child. It's just that because the child can't go, you will go on their behalf. And I think sometimes we mismatch that it's the mother demanding, it's the mother asking.
It's always the mother demanding.
You can afford your rent.
And they'd be like, oh, maybe if your weave was not so expensive. And it's just like,
it's not about you.
It's not about me. I will still wear an expensive weave. I can still live in an expensive place and drive an expensive car. But at the end of the day, we made this child together. So financially, we're supposed to contribute 50-50 for this child. But that's another topic.
That's another topic for another day.
And I guess what you're saying about not budgeting to the T will help you, and that's something I've been doing my entire life. Like, I know my rent is this much, I know my car is this much, I know this is how much I'm left. I never have like emergency funds. I've never been that person with emergency funds, and I still don't have any emergency funds. So what is the importance of emergency funds, and like how can I start? Like, people always say, we need to save. How do I save money I don't have? Like, I can cut down on coffee, I can stop doing my nails, I can stop doing my hair. But for me, I don't know, maybe I'm just like being difficult, but I feel like just pay me more to my employer, if you're watching.
We all wish.
Pay me more. Because now you want me to save. How am I saving money I actually don't have? Every cent that I get counts to everything that is in this house. So emergency funds, we hear all about that every day. What is an emergency fund, and like, how do I contribute to that when I feel like I'm struggling with my everyday needs anyway?
Emergency fund is basically savings that you contribute towards, and the goal for an emergency fund is 3 to 6 months of your expenses. I always like to say 3 months.
Wait. When you say my expenses, so you mean like if I lose my job, I need to be able to live for 3 to 6 months with that emergency fund?
Yes. that is the ideal goal of an emergency fund, right? But because of that reaction, I always like to say 3 months. Even though 6 months would be great, I always like to say 3 months of your monthly expenses, right? That is what you are working towards.
Yeah.
And the thing with an emergency fund is, for you know what you've just mentioned now, like sometimes the tin is a bit more life, in as much as we plan, and I believe in financial planning, and I believe in budgeting, and I believe in goal setting. But as much as we plan and we budget and we do all of these things, life will happen.
Yeah.
I can look at your entire profile and I can say you need this, you need that, life will, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And that's why an emergency fund is important. Yes, it is not 3 months yet, but it's important that you have savings that are easily accessible, that you can use when life happens, because life will happen. They will call at home and ask for money. You need to make sure that there's savings available for that. And the risk of not having an emergency fund is that when life does happen and you are not prepared for it, what are you going to do? You're going to borrow. Because life is happening, and there's this thing
right now
that needs to be solved. Your child is sick. Yes. You're not going to take them to the doctor. So the absence of an emergency fund causes you to then tap into each credit card, debt, and then that obviously spirals out of control. So that's why an emergency fund is important. And again, 3 months I know is a lot, but start with what you can. Start with what you can. There's savings accounts that charges close to no monthly fees, right? So you can save your 200 Rand there per month. You can save your 250 Rand there a month. And again, this question of how do I save when I don't have any money? How do I say, if I had like 10 Rand every time I heard that,
you'd be a millionaire.
I'd be a millionaire by now. Guys, if you're earning a salary, you do have money. Let's be honest. The money is there. You are spending the money.
But the money has a name, has a bill.
Exactly.
It has...
Exactly. But it is there, right? And you've decided that this money is going to go there, and it's going to go there, and none of it is going to go to an emergency fund, right? None of it is going to go into an emergency fund. There's always sacrifices to be made. And when someone argues this, I always say, go speak to your grandmother. Go speak to your mother and ask them, we were having this conversation earlier, what they used to live on. There's always a way. We just refuse. We refuse to look at our budgets and our affordability for what it is. And therefore we tell ourselves that I've done everything I can. There's no room. No, you're still shopping at Woolies, but there's no room. But you're still shopping at Woolies. Come on.
That's what I love.
You're still shopping at Woolies. You're still drinking champagne, but there's no room.
Let me have my champagne.
Come on, you went out for dinner last night, but there's no room, guys. Let's be honest with ourselves.
But okay. I'm so glad you brought that up, ne? I'm not a planner, and that's why I love having people like you in my life. Like, I'm not a planner. I'm such a... I feel like KFC, I'm going to eat KFC now. I'm not saying it's good. I didn't have this growing up, so I am going to give it to myself. So, even if it's the day before payday, if I feel like KFC, I'm going to have KFC. Because I didn't have KFC growing up. So now what I want to get to the point we're trying to make, then where do we draw, like, as much as, okay, cool, sharp, I only earn like 1,000 Rand, but I'm human and I deserve to spoil myself. So if you're saying that I must stop shopping at Woolies, but what if that's my way of spoiling myself? Where do we now draw the line at, I need to save, but I also need to live? Like,
to the point of where do you draw the line? Believe it or not, entertainment needs to be budgeted for. For groceries, you know that 1.5 is for groceries, 500 is for toiletries. When it comes to entertainment, it's almost like I spend whatever's left. But the problem...
That's exactly what I do.
The problem is that now with this 10,000 Rand, you've budgeted for everything, and you think entertainment is going to come from, I don't know, whatever's extra. And realistically speaking, do we have extra in our budget often? No. So then entertainment starts costing you other things. Now it's petrol that you're using to go out next weekend. Now it's that money that was meant for lunch, for creche that's being... So the first thing I would say in terms of finding a balance, you need to budget for entertainment. Entertainment it's actually it's a significant cost of our budget, because we like going out and thanking ourselves. And nothing is wrong with spoiling yourself. Just make sure it is budgeted for and it's within reason. Like, say I've got, out of this 10,000 Rand, 1,000 Rand is going to be for entertainment. what would I like to do with that 1,000 rand budget? Don't make a mistake of not putting it in there because you know you're going to buy takeaways. Then why aren't takeaways in your budget?
Okay.
You know you like going out at least twice a month. Why isn't it in your budget? Budget for it. So that's where you draw the line, is you don't just spend whatever's left. You say, this is what I'm going to use to entertain myself. And I heard someone say the other day that, when I don't go out, then I do my nails. So you sort of like budget for luxuries. So it makes sense in your budget. And you also don't feel guilty because you don't want to be going out thinking, oh, this is like petrol for next week and I'm out here.
You don't actually end up not even enjoying yourself.
How are you going to enjoy yourself? Because you know what you're sacrificing for it. So make sure that's how you find the line. Make sure that it is budgeted for. It is in your budget. These things like entertainment and data and takeaways, those are the things that actually eat our money, hey? Because I've been thinking about it, that at the end of the month, your car installment goes off automatically.
Yes.
You are going to pay your landlord. You are going to pay the guy who's school fees and all of those things. So what is really tripping us? It's those other things. Entertainment, data, airtime. And we all, but Andiswa, it's not much. I don't need to put it in my budget. It's just like 30 rand once in a while. It's just like 400 rand or 300 rand once in a while. So please make sure that you actually have entertainment in your budget and you are realistic about what that line item actually means.
Okay. I think for me, because I'm so scared of my reality, like I always hear people like, go through your bank statement and see. I'm always just like, if I go through my bank statement, I'll realize how reckless I've been. And how reckless I am. And ngiyazazi, I'm not the best when it comes to money. The only thing that I can be proud of myself for when it comes to money is that ngisaba my loans. So I don't have any loans. I don't take any loans. I'm scared of loans. But I don't save. I don't plan. So me not having any loans does not make me better than the next person, because I'm now, because I'm so reckless when it comes to money, even with my 2 kids. I'm always just like, okay, cool, as long as the school fees are paid and then the kids have food and the kids have this, but there's always those extra costs that come in, and it's the saving. I struggle so much with saving. And when my salary comes in, I can actually take 1,000 and save it, but in 2 weeks, I'm going to.
What are you saving for? Do you know? Or are you just putting money away? Do you know?
I don't know.
Biggest mistake. You have to give your money a job. You have to tell your money what it needs to do. Okay. If your money doesn't have a job, it's going to do anything, right? Okay. So this putting money away, putting 1,000 and just putting it away for the sake of putting it away.
But then, what is then an emergency fund?
So an emergency fund is a job. So if you are putting it away for emergencies, then you need to define your emergencies. Like with whatever you do with finances, if there's no discipline, you need to learn that discipline. And I'm still yet to study something in my books that tells me how do you
please once you study, can you come back to this channel?
How do you discipline? I think the only thing I've found so far is just practice, man. Just practice, do it over and over again. It's really difficult to stay away. You need to define your emergencies. A sale at Take-A-Lot is not an emergency. Your friend hitting you up that you haven't seen in a while is not your emergency. And unfortunately, even with all the solutions, if you lack the discipline when it comes to money, you're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. I always say that I don't know if you need to get into maybe the zone of thinking that I cannot access, which is difficult, right? Because if you're saving money in an emergency fund, it means you can easily access it at any point in time. And that's where discipline comes in. And guys, there's no formula for that part. And I don't think any financial advisor, financial planner, financial expert, financial guru can help you. Discipline comes with practice. You need to have that conversation with yourself when you put 1,000 rand a month that you are for emergencies. And I don't want to find myself in a position where I'm now going to debt and borrowing money at a high interest rate because I haven't saved for emergencies. So there's no discipline comes with practice. Just do it over and over again. Tell yourself that I'm not going to touch you. Money is a daily thing. Like, you're telling yourself every single day. And it's not, and I really want to say this, we overcomplicate it. It's daily decisions of, today I did not budget for eating out, or I did not budget for X, Y, and Z, so I'm not going to do it.
But then what if there's load shedding?
What if there's
load shedding and I didn't budget for eating out? Now there's load shedding.
So then look at your options, right?
Okay.
So there's load shedding. First of all, we know that there's load shedding now, right? We know
I
that
was hoping she wouldn't mention the fact that we know.
We know. You can
This
just
is a very
download the ESCOM app. You can plan around it. You know that there's load shedding.
I remember some girl on Twitter said that we've been living in South Africa for so long. We know we have load shedding. We need to prepare by having like load shedding ready meals, like I don't know, like salads or whatever. And everyone dragged her because we were like, "What do you mean? We need to prepare." What's the reason why load shedding affects us? Is because we don't prepare for load shedding. Like now, all of a sudden, you're complaining that you had to buy pizza for your family when you could have just had a load shedding meal. And
I haven't heard of load shedding meal.
But it's basically cold salads. She was telling us to have
okay.
sandwiches and cold salads, and everyone dragged her. But like when I said, so I was just like,
but
she wasn't lying.
Yeah, you can prepare. You can prepare because you know, and you can know because you look at the schedule, right? But besides that, life will always happen. Life will always happen. Also, now be reasonable when life happens, because I tend to find that now life happens. And now you want sushi because there's load shedding, and you want to order from that expensive place. And you want to be reasonable. Also, when life does happen, be reasonable. Okay, there's load shedding. What can we have that is a takeaway, but also within our budget? Let's not now use this as a reason.
Okay.
Because you know, my husband and I always go back and forth about. He's always a what if person. Yeah, but what if? He likes testing but what, like it, there'll always be the what ifs. Okay. But you need to understand your budget and your circumstances at that point in time. Yes, load shedding has happened and I need to buy takeaways, but what takeaways am I buying? Does it have to be a pizza? You know, does it have to be? So look at your affordability. And again, you have to make these questions every day. You know, you'd be surprised, and I'm glad you're asking these questions because someone else might be like, oh, but you're sitting with a financial guru and you're talking about takeaways and you're talking about, guys, these are the things that are tripping us.
And
believe it or not.
Oh, and they trip us. Nah, I know.
The entertainment and the takeaways, these are the things that are also tripping us.
The convenience. Like the fact that, obviously, when you think about, okay, in KFC, and thinking about, and actually whether I walk or take a taxi or Uber or drive to KFC, that already will be like, okay, you know what, I'm going to sit down. The fact that I can go on an app, Uber Eats, Mr. Delivery, or the KFC app, and just be like, and it's on my door. The convenience for me was what I've realized has literally is going to go get me broke. The convenience of everything. Pick and Pay is convenient. Woolies is convenient. KFC, Uber Eats, I think like 1/3 of my salary probably goes to Uber Eats.
And like being realistic, I've deleted apps. Be realistic about what is tripping you. Like, be honest with yourself. Okay. If you look at that statement, you're going to know where you fall short. And I'm one person who I have my shortfalls like everybody else, but I just hate complaining about the same thing over and over again. I don't know about other people, but
I don't mind.
I really, like, I'm like, gosh, I know that I just go there and I order, and next month I'm complaining about the same thing, and next month like, now you know that this app is obviously like a problem for you and it's a big challenge. Cut it out. You know, it's difficult, it's not easy, but cut it out. Now that you know, wipe those things out. And you spoke about the bank statement exercise earlier. Very important, because then you get to realize, where are my shortfalls and what am I missing out on, and make those decisions. Your shortfalls are different from mine. If there's anything that you can do for your budget, be realistic. Be realistic. See the rands for what they are. See the value of the money that you have for what it is. Okay. You know, what may be someone else may say, KFC, I mean,
it's just 50
rand. It's just 50 rand. But what is that 50 rand to you and your budget at that instance?
And how often
you know, it may be challenging for you, and for me it may be like, but I only do it like once in a while. But for you, if it's an issue, so be realistic about your budget and understand what is making you trip. And also, what's very important, guys, with the money thing is, there'll always be a what if. There'll always be like, but then I didn't, but like, how many of those excuses are we going to make until we actually change what needs to be changed? Yeah, but Andiswa, there'll always be a but. This is life, things are happening. But make sure that you are doing what needs to be done in that happening. So when you get to a point where now you are in an emergency, what is the best possible way out without using debt?
Okay.
you know, yes, you don't have an emergency fund, but what else can you do to maintain this? So when you find yourself in the situation and you haven't planned, just make sure you do the best possible thing in that situation. I love what you said, where you at least get you. And you see, that's something. At least you're terrified of that, which is going to make you save, and you're not like finding yourself falling into every trap, if that makes sense.
Okay. I will try and take everything that you're saying in. We can check in this time next year. I'm not gonna give myself 3 months or whatever. Yeah, no, thank you, Andiswa. Like, finances obviously is something that's difficult to talk about. Worse when you're a parent, worse when you're a single parent and you literally everything falls on you, like from your rent to your school fees to you literally have nobody helping you out, even with like 200 rand, 500 rand, the littlest thing, the smallest things. For me, I made a decision with my second born that I'm not going to do this alone. It's hard. Like, it's really, really hard. So I took her father to court, and in court, I was given 1,000 rand. Exactly for 1,000 rand. 1,000 rand is nothing when you're raising a child. But you know what? I was just like, it's fine. It's a consistent 1,000 rand, you know? So it's 1,000 rand. The minute that comes in, it buys milk and nappies for 2 weeks. It's not even a month. It lasts 2 weeks, you know? And then with my eldest, because I didn't live with her for so long, I did not understand the financial, how much money it took to raise her up until I lived with her. So I'm in the process of, I'm in the maintenance court now with her father. It's a complicated one with this one because he's a dick, he's an asshole, and he's trying to like buy maintenance officers. He's trying to make the case go away. But for me, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I have had the strength to go to court and be like, I'm not doing this by myself. Like, I'm not going to do this by myself. But I know that it takes strength. I mean, with Alanda's dad, I only did it 13, almost 14 years later. So I know that it's not something that you just wake up and decide, you know what, you will be liable for this child because I made it with you. It is hard to take the father of your child to court, but that's how, for me, I make my extra income, because absolutely no way I'm doing this by myself for as long as, for the rest of my life. So that's for me where I get the extra income. As much as with Milani, it literally makes like 1,000 rand makes no difference when it comes to, when I think about the life, exactly the life that I want to give her. It does not make a difference in my life. So what I'm trying to say is, as a single mom, I get it. Literally, I have got no help whatsoever. Like, I only got help from Alanda's dad by Milani's dad, by taking him to court, and with Alanda's dad, we're now in that process. So I have been doing everything by myself with the help of my mom and my sister for the longest time. It is hard. Emotionally, that's a topic we'll talk about some other time. Emotionally, being a parent is the most emotionally draining thing I've ever had to do, but financially it gets to you. Like, I have sleepless nights when I think about the money. Like, already right now, Alwanda is in grade 8 and Milani is barely 2, but I'm already thinking that when Alwanda goes for first year varsity, Milani is starting grade 1. And those are 2 important school decisions that I have to make. And those are the type of, like, whatever school I choose for them, or they choose, well, Alwanda choose for herself, will determine basically. And it's the foundation phase, and the other one, it's the last years of school. So I want to give the best, both of them the best of that experience, but it really gives me sleepless nights. And we're 5 years from it, so I don't even want to say we're not even close. But what I'm trying to say is, I'm always worried about my children's finances. I'm always worried about finances. I'm always stressed out. I don't want to get to a point where I can't even afford Itanon yogurt in the fridge. Like, it's little things from me not able to afford yogurt to big things from me thinking about, shit, what schools are they going to? It is hard. I know that it's hard. Trust me that I know. Like, and I don't come from money. I chose media and journalism as a career, and there's no money there. Like, sometimes I wish that maybe if I went to a better school, I would have been exposed to better career opportunities, and I would have chosen something that would have paid me way more. My first internship was 5,000 rand. And sometimes I see other people, their internships are 25,000 rand, and you're just like, what did I do wrong? So I literally feel like I'm starting from the bottom, and it's hard. Like, it is so hard. And I think it's harder because I'm a single mom. Like, I watched one of my friends bought like this big BMW. Like, it's such a beautiful car, and I'm so happy for her, but I can't help and sit and think. She also has a child, but she's co-parenting. and she's not with the father, but he's physically there and financially there. So I looked at her pulling the ribbon out of her car, and I was just like, if I had someone I co-parented with, who knows what kind of car I'd be driving, who knows what kind of house I'd be living in. So the fact that I'm doing it alone, it is just, yes, it gives me sleepless nights. I don't sleep, I cry every day about it, but it is my reality.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. And I just want to say that, one of the reasons that or rather like the main drivers that push me towards wanting to study finance and financial planning, etc., is because it is hard. It is very hard. But what I realized coming from being raised by a single mother is that it can be done. It's difficult. It's really difficult, but we, my siblings and I, are living products. Whenever I speak to like a mom who has young kids, I'm like, look at us. Like, this could be Alwande sitting in front of the camera one day in a YouTube channel saying she's qualified and she's studied and she's done all of these things because of you. So it's doable.
I'm trying like so hard to.
It is and you're going to do it. Trust me. And that has been one of my main drivers of, if my mom could do it, like no qualification, no good salary, no background, no financial education, no access to nothing, but the drive and the willingness to fight. That's all she had, literally. Not an overflowing budget or an abundance of money or a background to look on. And it's a story that's actually quite similar to yours. But she did it. And that's what pushes me to have these financial conversations and say, you can do it. There's space, And so long as it gets emotional and it gets difficult, but so long as you cry, and that's okay. But then after that, you're like, okay, what needs to be done? Tomorrow, what needs to be done, And it's okay. You go back and you cry because it's difficult. It's not easy. But then you say, okay, back to that budget. What am I doing? What can I do? And again, I'm a living product of the fact that it works out.
I think it's stories like yours, and it's like meeting people like you who it's so inspiring. It makes me feel like I can do it. Like, I know a lot of people watch this channel, and sometimes like you guys will comment and you just be like, oh, you're such an inspiration, and I'm just like, not me. Not me, not me, but like I'm hearing Andiswa now speak, and I'm just like, one day we'll be sitting like this and saying the exact same thing, and I think literally all I have is my drive.
Yeah.
All I have is the drive and the willingness to fight, but it's so hard. Like, raising kids by yourself, it's hard. It's hard emotionally, it's hard mentally, physically, and most importantly, financially. It's hard. There was a time last year, just before I moved back home, where I was in such a bad emotional state that I remembered that the life cover I have covers suicide.
Sure.
And I felt like my children financially will be better off without me because I've got a life cover. And if I die, they're gonna get money. They're gonna be able to go to good schools, and they're gonna survive. And I called the institution I'm with, and I said, please read the terms and conditions with me again. And they read it, and I said, you cover suicide, right? And they said, yes, ma'am, we cover suicide. It was the first time I've heard that a life cover covers suicide. And I contemplated taking my life because I felt as if financially I'm not going to be able to take care of these kids. I'm not good enough for these kids, and I'm not going to be able to do it. So let me just end my life so that they can have a better life. And then same day, because I love Twitter, I went on Twitter and I just felt like maybe it was God speaking to me through these people, and they were talking about how they watched their mothers fight. And they turned out to be such amazing people now because they saw their mothers fight, and they saw their mothers going through this and this and this and this. And I also saw a post about how this girl, and I think that she's the one, I don't know her handle, I don't know her name, I think she was God sent, but she's the one who literally made me stop taking the pills and downing them with alcohol, because I saw the post and she said that my mom died in 1995 and I'm still getting money from her policy, whatever policy that she has, but I would trade that money
Any
for
day.
her any day.
Any day.
I was like, okay.
Because it doesn't compare. It doesn't compare. And I think this is making me a bit emotional as well, because although I interact with single mothers in the work that I do, and I have a particular favor for them, because I understand that it's tough from my personal experience. But my mom was very open about her finances and all of those practical things, but she's not one to share her emotions. So listening to you now, I'm just thinking, I wonder what was going, because she's not the type of person to express how she feels. And she's and I think that comes from my dad not being present, where she just wants to be that stern, structured. That's what I know her as. But now to think that there's a whole nother side, and it's making me quite aware as well when I deal with other single mothers, that I know it's tough from experiencing my mother go through it, but you never really know until you're there. The emotion behind it, the fact that I say, open your budget and look at it and be realistic, but it's an emotional thing to actually understand what it is that you can do and what you can't do. But I think hold on to the fight, which you did decide to. Hold on to the fight and know that it's worth it. And know that, as much as your kids are maybe too young to express, which is why I love what I do, because now I'm old enough to express that it is worth it, to express that it does come right, and this is what comes from it. Your kids become way better than you ever thought you were, because they are your dreams, right? So they realize and they reach avenues. Like when my mom sits in my car, she's just like, she can't believe it. Like she's just like, I've never had a car. And when she looks outside and she's like, is this all of you guys? Like, and I'm telling you, you may not have that big car, but when Milani parks next to Alwande with both their SUVs, the feeling that you're going to get far exceeds.
I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it.
Yeah. So the feeling you're going to get seeing their SUVs parked next to each other is going to be like, I did that. Yeah. I didn't birth one car for myself. I birthed two, or even maybe one of them will have two. And you're like, this is me, So, and I want the single mothers out there to know that cry, because you deserve to. Actually, you should cry because of what you go through. But after that, dust yourself off and be like, where are we going next? Because ultimately it is worth it. And like the money thing, personal finance is personal. Money it's a daily thing. It's a crying and stopping to cry, facing the challenges, asking yourself, why me? And you know what? When you need to feel sorry for yourself today, do it. Do it. When you need to say today, why me? Why am I going through this? Why not someone else? Do it for today, as long as tomorrow it's a different conversation. And that's what I love about you. You'll cry today, but next week you'll be dropping a video. So I went to maintenance court and I told that man, I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna, you cry today, but tomorrow you're like, you girls, this is what you do. This is what you need to get. And I want to end off by saying, I'm one who's a believer a lot. I believe in God, and I believe in the fact that the universe plays out the way it should. And it's sad to think this, but sometimes you need to walk that road so others can know that it's walkable. And you need to do it so others can see. And one never knows why you need to be that person and not the person next door, but you need to walk this journey so another single mother out there can be like, if she does it, so can I. If she cries today and tomorrow she's up, I can do that too, And think about that. Think about the fact that you need to walk through this journey so that other single mothers can see that it's walkable. And single mothers need to pour into their children so the Andiswas can one day tell the story. It's just the journey of life and the way that it works. But I'm really proud of you. I think you're killing it. And it's okay that you fall sometimes, but you're killing it.
Thank you. I invited Andiswa here as a financial guru and expert, but I didn't realize that I was going to be talking to a product. I'm talking to a future Alwande.
Yes.
A future Milani. And I think for me, that means more to me than the financial experts that we've covered. Obviously, free financial advice, hey, anytime. But connecting on that part, for me, my biggest worry in life is how my children are going to turn out. And when I look at you, I literally see my children.
I'm glad.
And I hope even if they take things in half, they take half of what you have. Like it would be nice for them one day to recognize the efforts that I've put in, and I don't want them obviously to struggle as much as I have and other single mothers have. And I hope that this conversation makes you believe that you'll be okay. When we started this conversation, for me, it literally was just still going to be about money, and now I find myself crying here.
Because personal finance is personal.
You're right. Like you're 100% right. You guys know I believe in talking. You guys know that I don't believe in silence, and I believe that talking heals. And as much as this conversation was literally supposed to be about pure finance, but talking has kind of healed a little piece of me. So I'm very grateful that you came. I'm grateful that we're doing this. I'm grateful that we had this conversation. And if you are in the same situation as me, I hope you found a little bit of healing from this conversation. If not healing, maybe inspiration. If not inspiration, maybe like something. I hope you found something. And if you're thinking about having kids, I hope this conversation also gives you a reality check on how much, as much as we didn't dive into the exact cost of having kids, I hope you have an understanding of how much it's going to cost you emotionally and most importantly financially to have kids. And please don't forget to subscribe, comment, and I definitely will link Andiswa's channel below. Please go subscribe to her channel. Whether you're a mother or not, you will definitely
find something.
benefit from watching her content. The content is amazing. It speaks to you and me. Like, I know the kind of people that watch my channel, and I know that her channel will definitely speak to you. So please don't forget to subscribe. And thank you so much for watching till the end. It's probably a very long video, but thank you so much for watching till the end, and I will see you next time.
Bye.